Good morning. My name is Badrinath Singh and I'm part of US Impact, US Indo-American Political Action Committee of Texas. Today we have with us our existing City Council member, Brian Livingston, and along with him I have got my colleague from US Impact, Krishna Bhashkar. Uh, Brian, how about talking a little bit about yourself first to start with, and then probably Krishna can ask you a few questions.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Brian Livingston. I've had the pleasure of serving as your Frisco City Councilman in Place 6 for the last 3 years. My wife and I moved to Frisco about 10 years ago. My daughters both attend schools in the Frisco public school system. We attend Grace Avenue Church. And in addition to serving as your Frisco City Councilman, I'm also on your committees for budget and audit committees, governance committees, and legislative affair committees. Prior to holding political office, I also had the pleasure of serving as the Vice Chairman of the Construction Board of Appeals, and I was also on the board for Visit Frisco. So I have a long history of serving Frisco. I love Frisco. My family loves Frisco, and I plan to be here for the rest of my life, and appreciate you letting me play a small part in making Frisco great.
So, Brian, thanks for being here this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The streets are quiet because of coronavirus. So, the first question I want to ask you, what is the city doing? And then we'll ask you, why do you want to rerun for your position?
Absolutely. So it's obvious that the entire city, state, and nation's concerned about coronavirus. And we've been staying in touch with our county officials, state officials, elected officials, and we've also been talking to Dr. Gamber, our own medical expert. What we've decided to do is do common sense, logical solutions. We've shut down the Grove to protect our senior citizens. We've shut down our schools. We're making sure things are clean. We're encouraging people to live a normal life, but stay home a little bit more. Don't touch your face. We're encouraging hand washing, and I'll just take this opportunity to try to encourage everybody, don't panic. It's not time to hoard, and it's not time to start spreading rumors. Let's just be a little more cautious. Let's let this pass, and we will get back into our lives. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, things will return to normal.
So now my second question, what makes Brian Livingston rerun for his position?
Well, as I said before, serving on your Frisco City Council has been the honor of my life. I've gotten to know many of you better than I ever would before. I've gotten to meet a bunch of new people, but I'm focusing on the same things that I ran on last time, and I'm proud to report that I honored my original campaign commitments. I want to focus on lower taxes, less density, less traffic, and support our first responders. And with all the growth that we have going on right now, those are going to be as big issues today, tomorrow, and in 10 years as they were 3 years ago when I ran. So we've got to keep up the continuity, and we've got to keep moving forward, and we're on the right path. Let's just stay on it and keep getting better.
So, Brian, there was a lot of discussions about a possibility of you not supporting EDC and CDC. Where's that coming from, and what's the background behind that?
Absolutely. So my first election, I was a little critical of our EDC because I thought it had a lot of flaws, and I thought it had a lot of opportunities that we were not addressing. Fortunately, within my first 6 months, we addressed most of those concerns and placed a gentleman in charge of the EDC as the president named Ron Patterson, who's done a great job, who's exceeded my expectations in a shorter time frame than I thought he could. So our EDC is back on track, and it's a well-run, world-class environment. To address your specific point, I want to look at starting to pull back some of our incentives. For those that may not understand the difference of how we incentivize, we have the EDC and the CDC, which each gets a half-cent of our sales tax. I support that, especially when they're as well-run as they are. What I'm referring to is pulling back some of the city incentives, your tax dollars. I want to be clear, I'm talking about the city incentives, not the EDC and not the CDC. Our voters approved 4A, 4B financing years ago instead of DART. That decision is one of the greatest decisions our voters could make and have set us on this path of growth. So I think some people are just getting a little confused about how we incentivize and how the government's run, but if anybody would like to discuss that with me, I'd be more than clear to clarify that.
And what about TRE? That was the other contentious issue which we were discussing about.
Absolutely. So I'm not a big fan of new taxes, never have been and probably never will be. And I think before any city government, state government, or national government increases your taxes, we need to make sure we're doing as best as we can. So I had some opinions, I had some questions, I challenged some people, but I did vote yes on the TRE, the first one. I did vote yes for the second TRE, and I did vote yes for the bond. All I ever said, one time, one comment on Facebook, that I thought the bond for the FISD was a little bit overinflated. I still feel that way. The data is proving that I'm right. Most people still agree with me. So that's just part of being an elected official is you have to stand up sometimes and state your opinion.
And when you're saying that data proves it, is there any data we can refer to today?
Absolutely. If you go to friscoisd.edu, they have all their financials out. A lot of people have done beautiful write-ups on it. It's pretty clear to me that the bond was a little large, and we could have made it smaller. And hopefully, I have every belief that our school district will adjust and make sure that the tax dollars are being used wisely.
So Brian, I've heard you say over and over you like to lower taxes.
Yes.
How do you plan to do that?
So I supported the first homestead exemption of 7.5%. I think it was one of my first or second votes. I supported when we increased it to 10%, and I would support going to the effective tax rate. It's only 1.5 cents lower. I supported SB2 that put this cap in place because I think Frisco's got plenty of money. We have plenty of prosperity. It just forces us to be a little bit better stewards of your money. I don't see us having to harm. You know, the saying is it always harms the first responders if we support SB2 or the effective tax rate. Frisco Firefighters Associations endorsed me after learning this because they know my support, and it is a priority. So I think the taxpayers will appreciate that. I like to lower taxes any chance possible, or at least give us opportunity to.
So I did see your post about supporting Frisco firefighters and law enforcement on Facebook. You are getting tremendous amount of endorsements, which is great. You know, I do see a lot of people in Indian community
Yes.
are endorsing you, and you know, we love to see all the excitement about your rerun. What do you think you are going to do for the law enforcement, for the police department, for the fire department? What's next in your term? How are you going to support them even at a higher level?
Absolutely. So my first thing I'm going to do, I pledge to both of them, is I'm going to make sure their voices are heard and their concerns are heard, and we address it as much as we can, as fast as we can. We also have to make sure that we staff them appropriately, such as the fire department. You know, a lot of our trucks are running on 3-man crews and they need 4, especially for some of our bigger buildings. I support that. I also support adding more policemen. Some things that we don't get to see is I was a no on the 2020 budget until we got 4 new positions added for police, because I have a firm belief of everything else we do, my number one job is to keep Frisco safe. People move here, such as my family, for the schools. That's why we moved here 10 years ago. They stay here because they're safe. They stay here because when they're gone and 911 gets called, they know a well-equipped, well-trained person is ready to do whatever it takes to protect them. If we ever lose that, even minimally, I personally believe it will begin the decline of Frisco being great.
Great.
So Brian, we've been seeing a lot of posts with regards to you being visible on Frisco Arts. You've been
Right.
visible on so many so many activities of PTA and so on.
Right.
Any words on those?
Absolutely. Frisco Arts. You know, last year I was one of the deciding votes to make sure that we kept the funding up, and I've been acknowledged by the leadership of Frisco Arts thanking me for doing that. I go to all the Frisco Arts events and support it. I just found out I was not a member because it doesn't auto-renew. I was a member. I plan to renew it. My kids love arts. My daughters love to draw, sing, and dance, and that's just as important for Frisco students to have the opportunity to do that as it is to play football or soccer or basketball or any of that. So for a well-rounded community, we have to have a vibrant, well-established arts program. Now let's talk about FISD. I don't feel the need around election time to start doing things to get my support posted. I support Frisco schools year-round. The last 6 years, I've been a watchdog going into Carroll Elementary. My wife has been on the PTA, either as a treasurer or the membership director, for 3 years. And through our restaurants and through us personally, we have donated almost $35,000 to Frisco PTA, to teachers' luncheons, to sponsorships of fairs and events and other big parties that schools have. And I've hosted 3 events, one for a teacher, one for a PTA, Frisco PTA leadership position, and one for a student. They had cancer, and I know, having lost both my parents, that no matter how much money you make or how well off you are. When someone goes down with cancer, it's a hardship on you. It's a hardship on the family. So for each of those students, teachers, students, or PTA leadership, we raised several $1,000s. I think about $15,000 combined. So I just don't have an undying need to publish everything that I do. I do it year-round, and I feel like I do it for the right reasons.
So one more question, Brian. The way Frisco is growing, and there's so much diversity in Frisco. What's your plan to handle the diversity and maybe enhance it and use it for the betterment of the city?
Well, I'm going to answer that question in two ways. First of all, we got to make sure everybody feels like they have a voice at City Hall, that everybody can call me. And I know that's a struggle, and there's some reasons for that, but we got to continue to reach out and make ourselves known and visit the communities and encourage people to show up. Diversity for diversity's sake to me is worthless. What we need is to find the best and brightest through all segments of society. Get them involved, get them showing up, get them participating, because we'll be a stronger city. We'll be a stronger society. And we've got to figure out how to get more people involved, because some people are hesitant to come and speak up. And neither one of you gentlemen fit that category, but others are. And we need to figure out how to engage them and make them feel comfortable. It's just about being comfortable reaching out to your local government.
Okay.
So Brian 2.0, what are we going to expect from that?
Brian 2.0. I'm probably going to be a little more outspoken than I have been. Anyone that watches City Council knows I don't talk much up there, because when you're first elected, your first year, you're just trying to figure out how everything works and catch up. No matter who's elected, you start off in a big hole. So I have a better grasp of everything going on. A lot of the deals we're working on now have started while I was on City Council. First time they were ending as I got elected, and so I was playing catch up. So I plan to be a little more outspoken and a little more probably involved in the process as I can add more, because I have better knowledge and I'm more aware of the deals that are in front of us.
Sure. In terms of diversity, any thoughts on that? Pretty much changing demography. People from various parts of the world are moving into Frisco.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's great, because we're going to see a lot more opportunity here. It's going to help us attract more business. We're going to attract more schools. We have some brilliant people in all segments, all demographic segments, from east to west, north to south. We have people from all around the world, different religions, different beliefs, and we just need to maximize it. We need to benefit from it. We're a stronger society. It's a tighter fabric if everybody's working together and playing well. And one of the perfect examples of that is our police department reaching out and making sure that people feel safe and that their concerns are addressed. Because while I believe we all have the basic fundamental concerns, we want to be safe, we want our kids to go to good schools, we want good roads and low taxes, we got to make sure everybody feels safe and participating, feels their voice can be heard, and I encourage that, and will do whatever I can to help foster that.
But there is a lot of discussion with regards to high density apartments and traffic and so on.
I've heard that.
What are your thoughts on that?
So let's talk about apartments. Apartments aren't bad people. Apartment livers are not bad people, and that's a common thing I hear. I'm not anti-apartment. I understand, to be a vibrant city, we need to have the live, work, play. We need to have apartments near density centers so that we can reduce traffic. What I don't like, and what I have voted no on, I would like to step back. I'm the only city councilman in the last 3 years that's voted no on high density apartments. I voted no on 2 different developments because I believe they were too dense and put too much burden on traffic. And I will continue to do that. That's my core belief. It's what the citizens elected me to do, and I will continue to do that. When you talk about high density apartments, my biggest concern, and I think what most people are complaining about, is traffic. And we got a lot of things coming on to fix traffic. We have great work being done in our traffic engineering department with timing of traffic lights, with extending turn lanes, with doing a lot of things with policies that worked as a smaller city but don't necessarily work now. But the biggest thing we can do, and I've been talking with John Keating about this since before I got elected, is as we develop the northern part of Frisco and get these jobs up there, we'll have the reverse commute. Everybody won't be driving south. People will be heading north. And a lot of our traffic is people coming down from 380, from Prosper and Anna and Salina and Denton. They come to 380 and then they come down the tollway. We're going to get them to stop, be up in the northern half of the city. So I think we've got better days ahead of us in traffic, but we have to stay diligent because we're growing. and traffic's going to get worse if we don't stay on top of it.
So Brian, Brian 2.0 is definitely well refined because you have been a council member for a while. One question that always pops in my head is when you see all these candidates running for the city council, some of the candidates, we have never heard their names before.
Absolutely.
What's your guidance? Because that's one of the things US Impact is very focused on in grooming future candidates. What's your advice to people who try to run? You know, should they not put some work in the community before they decide to run? They introduce us,
Right.
you know, when they are running.
Right. So I would never discourage anyone that feels the desire, need, or calling to run to step up and run. That's the beauty of our system. Anybody can do it. But I've lived here for 10 years. For the first 6 years, I didn't do a whole lot other than just go to charity events and support the community through my kids and ways like that. But I got involved. I showed up to every city council meeting for about 2 years prior to being elected. And when you do that, you learn. I didn't just start showing up when my campaign kicked off. I got put on the board for the Construction Board of Appeals and got named the vice chairman. I was on Visit Frisco and had some comments there, and we changed. So I definitely think being around Frisco, our community's tight-knit. We're a unique environment, and being here for 10 years and seeing it and getting to participate with it, I think just helps the continuity and the flow instead of just deciding one day to run and stepping in.
Okay. Well, so Brian, one last question, and this question is about the future of our city.
Yeah.
Our future is our children. How do you plan to keep them safe in their schools once they're reopened after this coronavirus mess that we are in? How do you plan to keep them safe? And I'm talking about the unfortunate things that happen in the city, not here fortunately, but happens in the country.
Right.
Mass shootings and stuff like that.
So I think we witnessed this week that our school board trustees act fast. They shut down our schools pretty quickly once the coronavirus was deemed to be worse than we had originally hoped. And so I have every faith that our trustees are going to keep our kids safe as much as they can. Our city and ISD have a great relationship. I, for one, am a supporter of increasing the amount of school resource officers that, pardon me. I, for one, am a supporter of having more school resource officers in front of our schools. It's a significant expense. For every single school to have a full-time school resource officer, it's $3 to $4 million. That's a heavy burden to put on the taxpayers, but one that I would like to see get more conversation during my next term. The city will do whatever the ISD asks us to do to keep our kids safe. I have kids that go into those same buildings, and if I ever have a feeling they're not safe, I will do everything in my power to make sure that the ISD has the support of the city, the police department, the fire department to keep our kids safe.
Well, Brian, it was a fantastic morning speaking with you. Badri and I, we both are thankful to you.
Any last words, Brian, towards to let our viewers know exactly what else to do and any other comments you've got?
Absolutely. So far, the voting dates haven't changed, but early voting starts April 20th through April 28th with Election Day on May 2nd. I would just ask for all of you to do your homework and research. Don't necessarily believe everything that you may read or get told by somebody. I'm an open door. I'm on Facebook, Brian for Frisco, Brian Livingston for Frisco, brianforfrisco.com. You got my cell phone number. You have my email. I'm having coffees 3, 4, 5 times a day with citizens, and I would love to add you to my list, so please reach out. Thank you guys, and I hope everyone stays healthy.